You want to tune?
Yes.
Let's see. What's your A like?
Oh, my shoulder rest.
You want sharp? I don't know what the.
I think mine is still okay.
Maybe I'm too high.
Do you want to check with the tuner maybe? Oh, the pianos I haven't passed at all.
I think I might be sharp.
Yeah, it could be.
Let's just leave your A. That's fine. Let's see.
Check it out. Okay.
Ooh. great. Very beautiful. So these are observations that I make when I, like, when you teach, you have to kind of like come up with something new to say. So these are my observations. You have a very beautiful sound. You make beautiful music. You stand on one leg. And your vibrato is like mine, like an old man.
The question is a good thing or a bad thing?
It can be both, a little bit of both.
Okay.
Standing on one leg, I don't think is necessarily a good thing unless you're a bird. Especially not in a slow movement. In a slow movement, you want to be at ease and you just want to feel relaxed and balanced, and because in a way I get the energy from, I like to think of the whole body like being involved when you play. Like, I think the legs also are important, and balance, that you get energy from the ground, so to speak. Gravity, you like to use the weight and the gravity and the energy, and I like to be balanced and relaxed. Relaxed when you want to make a beautiful sound, like you are making a beautiful sound. So in a sense, it doesn't matter how you do it. I always think like the goal is to sound good, and you sound good, so you can do whatever you want. You can stand on your head for all I care. But that's what I'm saying. I'm a teacher, so I'm going to try and help you with how you can do things better or improve, or at least give you some ideas that you can think about when you go on your path to. You're already very advanced as a player. You could make beautiful music for a young person, but you do stand on one leg all the time like this, and that's great to have balance like that. But you may be more relaxing for you too, because when we make sound, we like to have like an open, resonant, ringing, beautiful sound that kind of travels and fills the hall and room with beautiful sound, like a singer, or especially like second movements are like kind of arias, like vocal music, like to be sung. So you want to be a singer. So that, then you have to have some the famous singers are all very big, used to be at least, big ladies. Back in the old days, they were, at least they were. So yeah, so just what we always search for in playing the violin and just doing anything is comfort. Like you do it relaxed and easy and feels good, right? So you can think about that, like you balance. And I'm not opposed to, like, you don't have to have a static, like frozen statue. You know that's not comfortable. So you want to move around. You want to be free. You want to move with the music, just so to speak. So in the slow movement, in the slow music, like this is, you want to feel that feeling inside. You want to feel it's a little, you don't have to feel, just relax and calm. You know what I'm saying? So it's just making sure you're comfortable. There was this very, very famous violinist called Yehudi Menuhin. Menuhin? No, Yehudi Menuhin was a very, very famous violinist. I'm not even sure where I think he was Jewish, but I think he was from California originally, but he moved to London later, lived in England. He was like a worldwide phenomenon, because he was very, very good when he was very little. Like your age, he was world class, but he ran into a lot of problems, because when he was this child prodigy, as you call it. And when he got to be like 18, 19, he started questioning everything. He started, his brain took over and said, well, what am I doing? How do I do this? And all of a sudden he got froze. He had a lot of problems. So he started turning to stuff like yoga and, Eastern, what do you call it, philosophy. He went to India to study relaxation and mental practice, that kind of stuff. Pretty much he went to the same. Have you heard of the Beatles? Yeah, there was Beatles had a member called George Harrison who brought them all to India to do study with some of these famous yoga guy, they call them. Yeah. Anyway, so they went to the same people. Anyway, so what's I going to say? Yeah, Menuhin wrote a couple of books that are kind of neat about violin. Is good. One book was called like 6 Violin Lessons or something, and one is called The Complete Violinist. It's a little book. They're good books, and he talks about he writes a chapter on his life and his travels and whatnot, and then comes a little middle section where he has like exercises and stuff to do on the violin, and then he writes. So it's like a mix of. It's interesting, and he talks about how to stand, and he talks about not locking your knees back, but standing a little bit on the front of your feet, like so you're a little bit on your toes, but using the heels as balance, but not standing on your heels like back locking your knees. So, and I don't know, in Suzuki they talk about this kind of position, standing on your like. There's no right position, and you just as long as you feel mobile and free, So you can think about that, and however you choose to distribute your balance, your weight, distribute between the legs is fine. You don't have to have the weight equally distributed or anything. There's no rules. Whatever you feel like good. But I think for you it's a little bit of an issue because you're so much like this on one foot, and I don't think that gives you. It's great for you to have that kind of balanced ability, but you can just keep it in your mind. It's not a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure you feel at ease. Good, so that you feel like the sound is helping the sound. Good. You have a nice violin too. It sounds very pretty. What is your violin? Is it a 3/4 size?
Yes, it's 3/4.
Can I test it?
Yes.
I haven't played 3/4 for a while.
The paper on the inside is sort of torn. I think it's an older violin.
It's very pretty. Looks pretty and it sounds very pretty. Steiner, it says. It's a very nice violin. Super nice. Maybe this is Steiner. I don't know. Do you think?
Could be. Her mom procured that, so she took very good care.
Super nice violin.
Didn't that come from a shop in San Francisco?
Yes, it came from like a
Auction?
It's specific luthier, Joan Balter, if you know her.
I know her very well.
I got it from her.
I've known her for 25 years.
Espen?
Yeah. It's in Berkeley. She's in Berkeley.
I got almost all my violins from her.
Ah, that's a super nice violin.
I wasn't there, so my mom sort of just picked it out. So.
Yeah, so I think it would be a good. One thing about your vibrato, that's my observation, is that you use your arm, which is good, but your wrist is a little stiff, so you stiffen off your wrist like this. So what you're going to get is a wide, slow vibrato. That's good for some things. It gives a big sound, a mature kind of sound. But it's also good to have a little bit of flexibility in the wrist, so you have a little bit of wrist, a little bit of arm. I don't know. I was talking to Beverly the other day, the old lady in the symphony,
Okay.
and she teaches Suzuki, and she was doing the. She was doing this kind of. And you can also do those vibrato exercises. She was going like half step down. Because there's this theory that most people have, that vibrato goes from the pitch of the note. Because vibrato is enhancing the pitch. Like we don't want to play out of tune. But this is a different tone. Those are different notes, right? It's kind of like out of tune. So you want to find the center of the pitch, which would be something like this. Like a pure, clean. So find the center of the pitch where the violin rings. If you play it in tune, it resonates. So it's kind of an open ringing sound, and then you can slightly. You hear I'm moving the pitch a little bit around, but not so much. So I'm not actually moving my hand or my arm or anything. I'm just kind of slightly moving the finger just a little up and down. So you can start with that, slightly modifying the pitch or enhancing the pitch. so the sound gets a little shimmer to it. Now, if you do what you do and what I do, almost like you're changing the pitch a little bit. So the bigger you vibrate, the more you're likely to change the pitch, and not what I talk about in enhancing the pitch. Slightly, just move around that center pitch. Where the sounds like resonant and ringing. So that's the thing. So you just listen very carefully and you could practice your vibrato. I mean, you have a great vibrato and it's going to be perfect for you. But you could just put your hand up against the box. What do you call this? The bout of the violin, and then that way not move your arm. So see what I'm doing? I'm just like slightly, and keep this joint of the finger like flexible, so I do just a little bit. Sometimes I vibrate like this because I have that problem. If I let go of my arm, I'll start get a little wobbly. So that's just something you can figure out. Work with your teacher on some exercises. Just thinking about the width and the speed of your vibrato is what I'm saying. Width and speed, right? Let's just do the little work from the beginning. I'm not worried about your vibrato at all. It's going to be great. You also have a very, very high shoulder rest. And that's fine, as long as if it doesn't feel like you're.
It doesn't feel bad. It's just sometimes I raise my shoulders.
Exactly, you don't want that. I do too. Because I have a lower shoulders than you do, and I'm much bigger than you. So I do a little bit of this, which is okay, as long as you can do this, but you can't just hold it like that all the time. You can do this when you need to. And all right, let's just do it from the top a little bit. So let me see if I have any other options. But generally speaking, I think you have a very, very beautiful sound, and you play very well. So yes, let's try. And it's good to have you. It's fine to have your balance. And I'm gonna just tie your shoelaces because
Is it bothering you?
it's bothering me.
I'm sorry.
Mm.
The thing broke, so it doesn't really tie well. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay.
Yep. Now we're ready to go.
Okay.
So just do a little bit of this. Check your knees and your hips and your shoulders, that everything's lined up and feels just relaxed and comfortable, that you're balanced, and then you can play. So feel it from the ground and up, the weight of your body, and everything's just standing comfortably relaxed. And then let's start. Take a deep breath and then. So yes, so you're there's a lot of you don't seem like you're going. Feel the weight of your bodies and your hips and stuff like that, so that you're really standing relaxed. Good. And you can also, like we said, like you enhance the pitch. First you play the center of the pitch. Sorry. You hear that? I mean, very often we talk about starting the vibrato right away and starting the tone vibrate before you start. Some people say that's not. My book is not really necessary. For some things it is, but so I develop a kind of with the violin, with the piano, you just push a key and the sound is already pre-made. We have to make the sound, so we develop the sound. I listen a little to the sound before I develop it. You see that? So you hear like you'd hear a singer. You can try that. So see the sink. I sink in. And then I like gently start developing the sound. That's nice, very nice. So the sound comes out from the middle, you know? And I don't even need to move my finger and hand. See, you can hardly see me move. But I really try and sink into the sound. With my you don't start your vibrato right away. You can do that, that's fine, but you can decide how wide you want the sound to be. That depends on the acoustics and what you want. But I start from the center and I kind of develop the sound. And I think I would tilt my bow a little bit. You know, it's hard. I feel like I can control the sound better if I slightly tilt the bow. So I can control. Good. And feel like I noticed another observation that I made when I watched you play, is that you rarely go to the frog and you're not very comfortable with the weight and the sound production right at the frog. And that has to do with you worried about making a scratch or not being able to control the sound here. So you can practice, you know, because when you're at the frog, I mean, it's different than when you're here. You're more comfortable here because you can add weight. You can't really add weight here. Here you have to kind of let up the weight of your arm and use the fingers a little bit, controlling the weight and but this is a very good place to make sound. If you make good sound here, you have a lot of flexibility. But if you avoid making sound here and start making sound here, you don't have much bow left to make sound. You can't do much here. You don't have much freedom to do things here. And you have all the rest of the bow to kind of like develop the sound. So you need to get a little more comfortable going with your string. Your bow changes right up at the very, very frog. See right here when there's like 1 centimeter or half an inch, it's basically where your frog is right in the middle of your hand. So you can go up to the middle of your hand when you change bow. You can think, because if you see, this is right underneath the middle of your hand. So you can go up here, you can go a little farther than you think. And there's a lot of weight here from your arm and from the bow, and frog is heavy, right? So, oops, I don't want to crash into Rosita's violin. She's got a really nice violin too. Yes, exactly. So you can yes, because then you see that's where you're at. And then you can also experiment. Don't be scared of making ugly sounds when you play the violin. That's when you practice, you should make ugly sounds so you know where they are. So you know how to avoid them when you are in front of people. But if you don't know, if you're not comfortable with your ugly sound, then you know what I'm saying? So if you know your limits, you know, your scratching limits, it's good to so I try and I drop my shoulders and I drop my jaw. Yes. See, this is okay. I mean, it's okay when you play, but it's just not going to give you the best sense of Gravity. Also, yeah. I think about my knees, my hips, my shoulders, and I like to just, drop my shoulders out to the side, my hips too. I somehow think about, Sorry. Sorry. Andres? Hey, how are you? I'm in the middle of a lesson. Can I call you back? In like a couple of hours? Are you going to be around? I'm at WT now. Do you want to come over? All right. Yes, of course. All right. All right. Bye. Give me a call if you don't know. Find it. Andy is calling. Sorry, that's why I had to kind of pick it up. All right, great. Sorry. Yeah, that's great. One more time. So yeah, I think about, and I think all the things that I'm talking about may seem a little unnecessary, but I do think about them as part of a good sound production: open, resonant, ringing, singing tone, that kind of thing. Good, very good. That's very, very beautiful. Now, what makes the vibrato? Where does it come from? What makes vibrato? What's vibrato?
Yeah. The moving of your hand
or what?
Wrist or your arm.
But where does it come from? Where's the vibrato come from? What's the point where the vibrato comes from?
At
the tip of your finger.
Or yeah.
Think about that. It doesn't come from your arm or your wrist or your hand or anything. It comes from the tip of the finger, where the finger touches the string. So that's where you have to start the moving. There's where it's come from. How you move it. It's up to you, but I think you should think a little bit, because it seems to me like you think your vibrato comes from here. Because when you make vibrato, you start the vibrato in your arm. You could start it in the tip of your finger. You see what I'm saying? So I have had to think about this a lot. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Resits, I guess, nervous. I'm going to sit on her violin. So think about that. Think practical about it. The vibrato comes from this point right here. You're right, exactly. So if you move your leg, it's also gonna, But think about where it comes from. So I always remember in Canada, this violist from the Hungarian string quartet, Dernes Koromsai. He had played on this Lionel Turley's viola. That there's huge. They're so big. The idea was, basically to have the bigger, the more sound, the better sound. Violas are kind of funny. So his viola was so big, his arm was like this, and his wrist was like this. So how do you vibrate? You know how he vibrated? Sounds like vibrato.
Yeah, he did oscillations, yes.
He did this. He shook his viola from side to side because he couldn't move his arm because his viola was so big, and he was a big guy too. Anyway, so that was fun, kind of funny. So think about that. Yeah. Try and relax your tip of your finger and your wrist also. Your vibrato is going to be great, because what you have with the arm vibrato and the big vibrato, it makes a really beautiful sound. And it's with the big oscillations, slow, and for a slow movement that's okay. But you're gonna need for other things you're gonna need a little quicker, smaller vibrato too. So the greatest thing in the world is to have a variety, so you can make contrasting sounds, and when you need to. See, nothing, no violin to sit on. Okay, so that's why I was thinking, oh, I'm going to show you a video. Can I do that? Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Have you looked at, here, let me see. I'm sure your teacher knows this. This guy is coming to Espen this summer, and I've never met him. He dated my colleague in Norway, in my other concertmaster in Norway. He dated her and he studied. I don't know if you heard of him. So I'm going to show you a thing he does, and I can show it. I can send it to you.
Maxim Vengerov, and I'd like to share with you how to produce. A sure way is to start with something simple. Hi, my name is Maxim Vengerov, and I'd like to share with you how to produce and change the vibrato. So the sure way is to start with something simple, which might not be too excited for you at first, but actually think about it. Scales can be played with a lot of fun and joy. So let's take just a simple A major scale, altering vibrato, its speed, and connecting it also with the speed of the bow and pressure into the string.
So this is something you can watch over and over again. You can listen to it and you can try it and see if it's something you'd like to do. So he said, altering this bow, like, you know, relating the speed of the vibrato to the bow and everything. You know, everything is
We
related.
count till scale, altering vibrato, its speed, and connecting it also with the speed of the bow and pressure into the string.
That's a lot to think
We
about.
count till 3. 1, 2, 3. Start. Start non vibrato. 2, 3. Add a little bit vibrato. Crescendo. Diminuendo.
Anyway, I think it's interesting. You can think about that a little bit, because I think that's helpful. When we practice scales, very often we do it like for intonation, like non-vibrato, which is, you know, really doesn't serve much of a purpose. But you can use it for getting a ringing sound, because this other famous violinist named Isai. Have you heard of Isai? Eugene Isai. He was a Belgian violinist, very
Yes.
famous. Yeah,
This guy.
yeah.
Oh,
Ah,
Isai. Yeah, so you know him.
yeah. A little bit.
Yeah, he said, there's a lot of famous quotes from famous people. I don't know if it's true, but he said we need to play, always vibrate, even when you're not vibrating. He said. Do you understand that?
Sort of.
Yeah, it means play with a vibrant sound. Hey, Andy, you're here.
Yeah, a little early is okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you guys go to the canyon?
Yeah.
Oh, was it windy?
Very windy. I know
Or-
my hair is very.
Oh, yeah, full of sand.
Yeah, very windy.
So anyway, he said, always vibrate, even when you're not vibrating. Think about that. That means you could vibrate. It basically means play espressivo with your bow and always be vibrating, like make your sound ring and resonate, even when you're not vibrating. And I think that's a good idea. Because now we talk about when I was little, we was had to vibrate all the time. Then came, and I got older, and in my 20s, there was like this idea of playing early music, like Baroque music, like Bach, without vibrato. That's what people started doing. They play a lot of early music, like even Mozart. And even I had a crazy guy tell me that Brahms didn't use much vibrato. And just the idea of playing vibrato without vibrato, and like just like on the piano, they have to play beautifully without vibrato, right? Have you thought about that? Like piano, how do they play espressivo? How do they play emotional without vibrato? That's interesting, right? So you should always vibrate even when you're not vibrating. So when you, let's do it one more time. Good, very good, very good, very good. It's great. So we're done with the vibrato. Let's not talk about that anymore. There's also a little bit of balance. Now, when you have a shift, you kind of have to let up the weight, so you're like in a weightless kind of state, right? When you make the shift, you want to be kind of like release. Here you want a lot of weight and gravity, both here and a little bit here. A little bit in the elbows and shoulders and hips and knees. Then at some point here, you gotta get weightless and then sink back in, right? So you gotta release all the weight so you can actually move to the, like, it's like this, right? Like you gotta let up and then sink back in. So you know the time that ride here. And then I sink back in. So I'm really light when I go from one place to the next. It's how you feel. It's not what you do. There's nothing wrong. You can stand like this if you want. I don't mind that. You can stand like this. Some people only have one leg, and if they want to play the violin, they have to stand like this. And some people sit in a wheelchair and they play pretty well. You've heard of Perlman? Yeah, I don't criticize his standing or sitting. You know, you have to make do with what you got. That's what I'm saying. And if you want to stand on one leg, I'm totally fine with that. But you need to be sure that that's the best way for you, right? And I feel, especially when you have to make a shift, I feel this is important. And this, I'm always like this when I play. That's why when I teach, I try to encourage my students to sometimes. Okay, balance is important before the shift. So yeah, so when you do this, this part of your hand is not relaxed. So I don't know. I very often think a lot about whether I should, when I start on this note, you'd probably start on this finger, but when do you put your first finger down? You wait to here. You know, do you prepare it, or you wait till it's time to use it? I think about all these things. I don't know what's right, but just try it one more time. That's great. Now you thought about it. I thought it was better. It helps to think about this. What's your fingering? one to the other, what do you do? Just play the ending there. What finger do you do? Let me see that shift. That's a very important. That's a very important thing in violin playing, is to be able to go. Replace the finger. It's very important to be able to replace a finger, because we use that a lot. So yeah, so one question in my mind, and I don't have the answers to everything, because there are different answers. Now, when you do that, when you replace the finger, should you switch position? Should your thumb move? Because it doesn't have to. Or should you go? See you move your hand, or do you just? See, when my second finger takes the place of the first finger, do I move my thumb? Don't have to. You can if you like, but if you keep your hand in the same position, what do you think gives you the more security or stability and balance? Moving your thumb or keeping it in the same position? I would think so. Then you have that kind of control. And you can slide, you can kind of like the second finger kind of gently kind of pushes the other one out of the way. Try and do that. See if that's better. Yeah, really feel, yes, like that. Because it's important that your hand is really smooth and relaxed. Good. I had a problem when I was young. My fingers would squeeze together a lot, so I would even put things in between just to get some space and relax a little bit. See a little air in front of you, in between your fingers. Try to do that if you relax your hand here. It's better, you know? So you have a little air between your fingers, then don't get so sweaty. Yeah, that's great. Now, yeah, she's got that. So, Kevork, Marderosian, her teacher, he was my predecessor. He taught violin at LSU before I started there. And I, at some point, I saw this book by Ruggiero Ricci.
Oh, Ricci Glissando?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Left hand.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting thing. That nobody uses that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very few people use that book, because Kevork endorsed
Based
that.
on a
in
lot
the
of
back.
Dunas principles.
Here's Kevork's. Is that Kevork? No.
No, it was somebody else.
But
I
Kevork
think
writes
Kevork-
here.
Oh, yeah, I've forgotten that, yeah. That's it.
It says here, it presents to every serious violinist the unique view of left-hand technique and the challenges of playing the instrument at the highest level. It's a different kind of, his theory is before back a couple of hundred years ago, there was no shoulder rest and chin rest. So that means that you didn't have any way of, so you had to play much more like this, more flexibility in your left hand. And that's something we should have. And that's, for me, I played without a shoulder rest for a few years. And that means that you actually, you're much more free. And it actually hurt my shoulder a lot, but but it actually means that you have to kind of, it's more gymnastics for your left hand, like this stretch. Because what they say about Paganini is he had that flexibility. A lot of his music is such that he didn't play in positions. There are no positions ideally on the violin. There are no positions.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of idea of first, second, third, fourth position isn't really there. You know, nothing is fixed. It's a you know, the string. There's no fixed positions. You don't see any positions here, right? And guitar, you can see positions. You can see frets, and you can see pitches. You know, you can see it's all lined up like a piano. But on the violin, it's not. So there are no positions on the violin. It's all gradual, right? So you don't have to play in positions necessarily. And that's the idea of what this is. It's kind of floating. Yeah. So don't think when you get as good as you are, you don't have to think about positions anymore. What you have to think about is flexibility in your hand. How comfortable you are using, you know, see this? This is not a position. So what you want to develop is the freedom and the flexibility and stretch this. So you don't want to squeeze this together. You can use this nail device. You don't want to squeeze here. You want to have as wide a hand and flexible hand as possible. It's like gymnastics. So there are a lot of good. What I use is like Flash. You know that on IMSLP. This it's called Basic Studies.
I think Urstudien.
Urstudien, yeah.
I think I had them here.
And I saw Hillary Hahn was posting that on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
The first, you know, you have the first exercise there that I tell people to do. But you don't have to use it.
I had them.
It's basically this where you put 3 fingers on a string and you lift one size you can and let it drop down. And then you change in these different positions. And Donice also has the same
Donice
thing.
has that, and you know, also you mentioned it. Have you seen the one?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, you know it. Yeah.
Simon Fisher.
Yeah,
They all use the
because,
same. They all the same.
And we've done this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like the idea of gymnastics. You know, I've seen gymnastics people. They stretch and they do all kinds of things to be flexible, and that's what this is about. So when you do that, try and be flexible. And the greatest thing about violin playing, another famous violinist, Milstein, he said, you have to make up. You have to be inventive. You have to invent exercises for yourself. You need to make up the exercises. You don't have to take it from some boring old guy. You can make up the exercises. You know, that kind of thing. Okay, so let's do that shift very smooth and very, very flexible, like you're a gymnast. Yeah? Like he's floating. Try and do that shift without. Listen to this. Like make it sound like the same tone. Like that. That's how you have to do it. Exactly. I couldn't even hear that you changed finger. And that's kind of fun. And there's no way you can do this. There's no way you can do that without being really flexible. Yeah, keep your hand loose. Keep your hand loose. I was watching Zuckerman the other day. Another guy I'm throwing out name dropping. All these famous violinists. Pinka Zuckerman he's one of the greatest sound out of anybody. And he was talking about vibrato, and he was actually not talking. He didn't even call it vibrato. He called it. What did he call it?
Release.
Release. Have you seen that video?
Yeah. He said it multiple times too.
Yeah. He's not calling it vibrato. He calls it release, and that's when you have to play, which say every note has to have vibrato. What we also call continuous vibrato. He doesn't call it continuous vibrato. He calls it release, and it keeps your hand relaxed. So that's kind of thing. Release. Think about that. Release. So when you do this, just think about release in your left hand. And do it, think about all of this. Yes, like that. That's what you did now. It's great. Get that feeling in your hand. Good. And if you can on top of it, just relax here. Let go. Release. Shoulders. Hips. Knees. Great sound. All right, one more time from the top now. I don't talk too much. That's a beautiful shift. That's beautiful. See if this the same applies here. But here you have to move your thumb. But it's a little bit of the same. Try and do the shift in the same way, so smooth that you can't tell that you're actually shifting positions. Let go. Now, the shift kind of belongs to the previous notes. The shift should happen at the end of this note, right? So you're actually ready for the D already, right?
Here's Kwan, so what do we do?
Hi, Kwan. Yeah, we should move on. We should move on, right? Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
So you need to think about whether the shift belongs, or just it belongs. I mean, that varies. Sometimes you want a little glissando. You know. You have to decide when the shift should come. Should it come at the end?
I'm doing.
Oh, you're doing that. Yeah, that's good. Slide is nice. There's no right or wrong. You just have to think about it. But this shift is what I was talking about. And here you can also keep your hands still, actually. No. I would do it the same way as you did the other shift. Like I wouldn't move my hand for that half step. Good. When I do shifts like this, I like to have my finger quite flat. I don't put my finger vertical. I pull it. When you vibrate, go like this, and then I put it, kind of push it. So everything's very even and smooth. Good. Try to not stop your vibrato, or we don't call it vibrato, we call it release. So try and as you go, try to not stop it, but keep it released. Good. That's very good. So I do this. That was great. That shift was great. But when you get here, I I take my first finger and I push the second finger out of the way like you did the other time. So, like when you made that shift so we couldn't even hear that you were changing finger, same thing applies here. Very smooth and very flexible gymnastics. That's right. That's very good. And try it one more time and try and make that third finger. That's very good. Those shifts were great. Now, you also, as you do this, when you go here, you can release here too, so that your third finger will fall into place. Good. If you release your first finger, like this, with your hand in your arm, see your arm. So your drop finger can drop down in place. Yeah. Yes. So so this is a little tight. When you go up with your first finger, you're tight here. Release here. So you have to think about, when you go up on your first finger. Let me see one more time. That's better. Yeah. So release your hand like this. Release here. Here, release. Release this. Here. Before you start, yes. So you need to have some weight on your finger, right? But try and get that weight on your finger without squeezing, Good. My hand. That's very good. You can come a little higher. Come a little higher with your hand. Say your third finger. What's your fourth finger doing? You're kind of like a little bit like, yeah. That's right. Makes you sure. The idea of all of this, is that it feels better. It feels good. Like being cramped up doesn't feel good. What's your first thing you do? Just relax it. You feel that your hand is a little tight? You can work on that. That's right. So I think about these things when I practice. Because I believe that, if I feel good, if it feels mechanically good, it'll sound better in the end. Like freer. When it's free sound, and if your pinky is stuck on top of your third finger, is pushing against it, it's not going to sound as open and one more time. That's a beautiful sound. That's very, very good. See if you can even make it more open by standing relaxed and balanced. So. Drop your shoulders, open. That violin sounds very, very good. Open up. Just try that. Back and forth. Gravity. Good. And relax your hand. Yeah. Wide, relaxed hand. You saw Vengerov on this video. He sometimes when he plays with his third finger, and I was seeing that. Who else did I see? Heifetz. Heifetz did that too. But the fact that they hold their fingers up like this, it releases the tension a little bit, so it's freer. But it needs to be relaxed, even though you have them up. It can help. So you have a lot of weight on your finger when you release the rest of your hand. So it's really free. Yes, exactly like that. But you stand like balanced and good. You can maybe have a little more weight in there. That's good. Yeah, that's good to work on your sound like that. So it's really open and sound. You want to go on? It's a little boring lesson because I talk about so much stuff. Let's do this one more time. It's probably printed in some editions. Is that printed in some editions?
Oh, I'm sorry. Possibly. Because everything has been printed. Yeah. You can hear music?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, because we can count it.
I'm just curious.
So, do you have the old text or my Peters? Which one?
Is it Joachim, right? Joachim edition? Or
That's right here.
oh, there's nothing here. Yeah.
Right here.
It doesn't say anything. Yeah.
It just
All right,
up
that's
on
fine.
the piano. So.
That's fine. You can do your fingering. Is your fourth finger in this part of your hand relaxing into it? Make make sure try and relax your hand. Stand really solidly on your third finger, but feel free in the rest of your hand. Good. See, your wrist is very stiff when you vibrate. See if you can loosen up your wrist. Like feel there's nothing that's tight. Not tight in your arm. What I do is I release and I use bow speed for the vibrato, like Wenger was talking about. Like I release with my bow. Keep a good contact point. With the bow release. Yeah, use the bow speed. That's beautiful. So you can release the vibrato, get a faster vibrato release by releasing your bow. You see what I'm doing? Good. Also try and release a little bit here. You need a certain amount of weight and gravity on this finger, but try and release the rest of your hand. So this is why you see Heifetz and Vengerov do this with their hand when they play third, is to release. They're looking for a way to release this part of the hand, because if you do this hand is tense. But if you they do this to release the hand. That's kind of cool. Not many people do that. I mean, there are a lot of people that you don't see do that. You don't have to do that. You can do like this. You can do this. And it sounds different.
Do it, try it. I don't know.
Would you be asking me? Like I said, there's this violinist called Milstein, and he said you have to invent and experiment and do all those kind of things. See, I don't have the answers to anything. I just try to find the questions. And then you find the answers yourself by just experimenting. And the answers aren't always the same. Sometimes they change, and that kind of thing. But you're getting to the age where you need to be more more curious about finding out new ways. That's fun, finding your ways and new ways, and finding a release. Yeah, go. Mm-hmm. For use, you can release your hand more. Your wrist. But think that the vibrato always comes from the finger. That's what Beverly said. Now, in Suzuki method, they teach vibrato coming from the wrist, which is not right. It's a combination of wrist and arm and everything, but it comes from the finger. It comes from the finger moving, slightly enhancing the pitch a little bit. So it comes from there, and the wrist needs to be flexible, but I also use the arm. But I have problems with my vibrato because it's slow and big. Good. You can also maybe do this kind of, I don't know what kind of vibrato exercises you should do. Like I've done this, like where you keep it's to make sure your wrist is also involved, I don't know. Whatever. It's good. I think we got to move on with the Kwan.
Okay.
Great, Ella. You were very patient with me.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
It was such an informative
you.
and provocative lesson.
It's a beautiful
Great.
sound, Ella.
Yes.
Beautiful sound.
Yeah, would you like to sit on Kwan's lesson? It just check with your mom though, because
It
I
depends
don't
on
know
what
if she's
my
wearing.
mom
Yeah,
thinks.
yeah. Check with her.
You
I
know
don't
what?
have my
To have a violin like that is so important for you at your age, your stage, to be able to make that beautiful sound that you want to make, and you can't do that on anything. You know, you have a nicer violin than I have.
Oh.
Think about that.
Encourages you to experiment. Yes. Do you know these?
No, I don't.
Oh.
Ah.
It was all about the fingers difference.
The first one,
which we were
because the
talking about.
unison,
In the first
he starts
exercise.
with the
Oh, Ulysses, yeah.
yeah, and it's so inventive. This value is just
Yeah, that's great.
This value is a scream.
Very
Yeah,
inventive.
These
yeah,
are great
yeah.
exercises, Ella. Do you have these? Have you done them?
Well, when we've talked about finger replacements, we've done
Mm-hmm.
tiny little bits from this, but
This is
yeah.
this is his side.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he was a pretty amazing dude. I'd love a copy of this. I guess I can buy it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for the same. And this one too.
I have that.
Richie. Yeah.
Richard Descend, yeah.
I've read it. I've tried it.
I want to look at Eunice as well.
Do you think that it works 100% though?
No, I mean nothing works 100%.
It works for Richie.
Isn't it interesting?
Well, yeah, because he plays that way.
Right.
and,
You know, Camilla
but,
Wicks was friends with Richie.
Uh-huh.
I heard the Richie interviews on the radio and stuff like that. Interesting when he was like, he lived in like, what's it called? So that's Vegas. Where's
Nevada?
Nevada, Reno.
no?
Uh,
Is it Nevada? No, Arizona. He lived in Arizona.
oh, in Arizona.
I saw something about California in the book, but
Yeah.
probably Arizona.
He lived in Arizona. At the end of his life, he was like in 9 years, whatnot. And I heard an interview with him on the radio, and he said one of the big problems today is that young people, they don't listen to music enough. He said you have to listen to music a lot. So he said, and he's actually was a friend of Camilla Wicks's, I guess, and he gave her or sold her 2 violins of this Australian maker Smith that I played on for a while. She sold it, those violins. Yeah, so he was the one that got her those violins. They were great violins. So she liked them a lot.
So what are we
Small
going
handle.
to do about this?
It's
Do
gotta
you
be
have your
different.
phone?
Yes, it's
Stop
not.
recording.
Richie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Well,